We're live. Okay, so welcome everyone to today's community committee meeting. It's the meeting for January 25th, 2018. I am going to quickly run down the list of panelists or the list of members and attendees, just because it can be time consuming to go down 14 members. So I'm here, I'm Tierney Siren, I'm co-chair of the community committee. We have Mark Hinkle, ED of the Node.js Foundation. We have Maurice Hayward, who is a observer, I believe. We have Olivia, who is a ComCom member. Toby Farley, who is an observer, who is, I believe, at the point where they can become a member. We have Ben Michelle, who is a community committee member. We have Benjamin, who is an observer. We have Fathi. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
I don't know too. This is the first time I read in English, so say it all you want.
Okay. We have Fathi, who's an observer, first-time observer. We have Gregor, who is a member. We have Jem, who is a member. We have Manil, who is a member. We have Rachel White, who's a member. We have Toby Farley. I think I already said that. I think the list moved. Who's in good standing and can now become a member. We have Walid. Am I saying that right? Hopefully I am. We have Walid, who's a first-time observer.
Yes, Walid.
Okay, awesome. And then we have zibbykeaton, who is works at the Node.js Foundation, and we have Sarah Conway, who also works at the Node.js Foundation. Awesome. So that was much faster this time. So first thing on the agenda this week is doing a report from the initiatives. So going down the list of initiatives, I don't believe we have anyone from user feedback present other than myself, and I haven't been involved in the past 2 weeks. So I don't know if we can get an update from that. Since our last meeting, we have brought in 2 new initiatives. We brought in 2 new initiatives, and Ben and Olivia are leading those. So Ben, could you give us an update on internationalization?
Oh yeah, sure. So we current status is that we have our proposal out, and it's on the Node.js Medium collection. It seems like it's been getting read, which is great. We have our official working group. Let me post that in here. Just pulled in our official working group, and we're getting more active with that, adding new members like Sam Yamashita and Richard Littauer. So it seems like there's some good momentum going. Next steps, we are seeking the approval of localization groups for our proposal. I'm thinking that we just need to email the members, representative members of those groups. I can definitely write the copy for that. If there's an official foundation template or something I could use, I'd like to know. The biggest thing for me is how we would like to receive feedback on something like this. Should we send out a poll, or just request they respond to the email? I'm not sure, because I've never done something like that before. So if anybody has advice on that, that would be great. And beyond that, if we are approved by our groups, then we'd like to move forward with the internationalization module development that I proposed last time. And we can make a module and sync it with Crowdin, and get a doodle going for the next working group meeting to cover scaffolding that, and make sure that we bring in people like Zeke, who've offered to consult and help with it, as well as members of the site redesign project. So our projects are syncing nicely. And then I'll also be present for the upcoming website redesign meeting, track the progress as a liaison of the internationalization project. And anyone from the internationalization project should feel like they should be able to join that as well if they'd like, I think. But that's where we're at right now.
Awesome. So I saw Dan Shaw joined. We'll go through the website redesign and then see if we can get an update from Dan on the other one as well. So Olivia, do you have an update for website redesign?
Last time in the last meeting we weren't even a thing, but now we are. We have an official repository and everything. Although I think that still needs to be updated in the list because it's still pointing to the issue.
Yeah.
But we have planned a first meeting, which is going to be next Thursday or something, Wednesday or Thursday, I forgot, 1st of February, in which we're going to hopefully pin down some important circumstances and requirements that we need. But I'm extremely satisfied with the amount of attention we've been getting. Like, we've been getting a lot of people interested to join, not only in the development phase, but also in the sort of early conception stage, which is fantastic. So I'm really excited for the meeting. I'm really excited to be working with the internationalization working group. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Dan, do you have an update to give on user feedback?
You bet. So, a few things to tune into with user feedback. We have a meeting tomorrow, organizational meeting, where we'll be finalizing the details of our 9th of February first public user feedback meeting, where we'll be engaging the individuals who have gone through and raised their hands. We sent out emails and requested individuals who are interested in engaging to represent their groups, their organizations, and hear a little bit more about what the Node.js benchmarking working group does, and also get some of the context of the survey that we ran from the end of last year to that will run through the end of this month. So, kind of blending a couple of our key initiatives together and sharing that out with the Node.js end using public. Excited about that. And then we're going to take it to the real world at IBM Index. So Index 2018 is in San Francisco, and both Michael Dawson and myself are attending, and we're going to kind of run our first experiment of how we extend this into send user feedback into the real world at this event on I think it's the 20th of February.
Awesome. I will also be going. I don't know if anybody else is
awesome.
going. If anybody else is going, feel free to speak up. Awesome. Gregor is planning to be there as well.
Oh, great.
I pasted. Oh, yay. And Waleed, maybe. For the members that are and observers that are in the chat right now, or in the meeting right now, I pasted an issue. It's Node.js admin issue 44. That is the discussion of Node.js space available for Node.js at Index. So I just wanted to make sure we connected that dot. That's when the session will be happening. Awesome. Okay, does anyone else have anything they'd like to add or other updates about initiatives or other things they want to add into the discussion right now?
And Tierney, I want to just say thanks for fitting those in today.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. So it doesn't seem like anyone else has anything to engage with in that. So I'm going to move on to the agenda items. Oh God, I don't have the issue open. So the first agenda item is issue 163. And actually the two after that are also related. I wanted to include these because they're things that people have asked of the community committee, and we've not given them a solid answer yet. Specifically, 163 is a very interesting one because it's the diagnostics working group. They're looking for some input and help on codifying how to get a technical writer, or helping get more people involved to help document the processes of that. And they've been pretty engaged with it and written a lot about exactly what they're looking for. So I really do think we should try to push on getting some answers to these, that issue, and then also the other two. So I don't really know where we want to go with this. If we want to say, this is what we're going to do. If we want to say no, if we want to say yes, or if we want to have a one-on-one meeting with them, one-on-one, like a live streamed meeting with them, to see if how we can help. Totally open to anything there, and I just think we should try to push on an answer for them.
So if I understand, it's that they have some stuff that could be documented, but are looking for, want to make it obvious to the community that the community can be involved.
Yeah, so that was the initial ask, and then it kind of they kind of pushed on it a little bit more and tried to figure out getting even like at a higher level, documenting that and figuring out how that can be reused. If there's a process there that can be reused over the course of any kind of technical project that comes to the community committee asking for something similar. And so yeah, that's the general ask, and then it's more of a meta thing on top of that, saying, how can we make this reproducible?
So whenever I hear technical writer, especially in the context of open source, my spidey senses kind of go off that worried that they're not taking responsibility for documenting the things that need to be documented and want someone else to do that heavy lifting. Or is this polish on content and context that's already been established that just needs to be organized a bit better? Do you have any sense of where they are?
It's I can't really tell. It seems like it may be the former, but yeah, it does. They're looking for someone to help do better documentation, basically. And okay. That's kind of where it lies. And so I think this has been open since November 2nd. And I've tried to engage with them a few times on it and raise it in the meeting, but I think this is something we definitely need to get some kind of answer, not leave it open-ended. And there is a lot of kind of thick context in this issue, so it's not really something that can be digested in 5 minutes in a meeting.
Right.
But that is the issue, is that they're asking for help doing better documentation.
Yeah, and just for the context of another one of the threads where there was the benchmarking working group who had an ask. We needed to basically have the user feedback group set up and do all that work to be able to even get there. So it was pretty much several months of effort and aligning that, and getting a representative from the benchmarking working group, Michael Dawson, engaged with user feedback to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe Olivia in the website redesign, like who could, what group could be, diving into that?
Yeah, I don't think we have one at this point, at least not one that's active. It does seem like good scope for the evangelism working group, but unfortunately it's not very active.
Right.
So yeah.
Come on, Tierney, you have some more time somewhere.
I really don't.
Is maybe the suggestion that we like start with what makes sense? Like I saw in that issue there was some comments about some documentation that had been sort of started on the side. They weren't sure if that it was complete.
Yeah.
Just go with what works for now and can always be revised after.
Yeah, and I think maybe something that could be helpful in kind of going into that meta thing is giving them, setting them up with a baseline of, okay, it's okay to revise your documentation, and have that kind of documented, and enable them to have a place to refer to when people want to come revise or update or help. How give a document to them or to the broader project, and kind of have that be what they're looking for, because it does seem like they want a person, but it also seems like this is a way that would be a way to help, is documenting that. And does that make sense? Was I super unclear and vague in that, saying that?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they need to set up, essentially for how the project works. They need to set up a baseline so folks can begin PRing against it, right? Yep. Even if it's incomplete or not well formed. Starting with something is better than nothing, and they're going to have to do that work anyway to get a technical writer up to speed. If that's the eventual solution anyway. Could
Jem, could you note or mark a to do in there that is even create an issue to I don't know how to word it, create a baseline documentation template or something like that. I think that's a good way to start, and I can take that if no one else wants to raise their hand for that. But I do think that's a good way to start and have a discussion about that, and then push forward from there and provide resources for the project, the technical side of the project, to continue to drive itself and perpetuate itself.
And Tierney, I would be happy to sort of carve out 30 minutes and just sit down with the group and just listen to their needs. Okay. So it'd be great if someone else from the community committee would be interested in joining me. So it's not just me. It's a representation of ComCom.
I can do that too, Dan. It's Manil.
Awesome.
Manil? Okay, yeah. So Jem, Manil and Dan are willing to do a market to do for them meeting with the diagnostics working group.
Thanks, Manil.
Thank you very much. So next on, so the next two issues are very similar. They've been open for a long time, and I think we should probably, again, either decide to address them, close them, and wrap them up, or act on them. So the next one is explain inclusivity better, which it's a very, very long thread that has a lot of context. And I don't know, there's a lot of good suggestions from Benjamin in there. I don't know if there's anything explicitly actionable at this point in it.
I actually was thinking about it because I was looking at the thread again before the meeting opened, and I think it might be worth taking a look and seeing if this is something that other open source, projects have attempted to do, or if it is something that is, included in certain code of conducts, or just seeing, what actions we can take that might have already been done by somebody, so that we don't attempt to define what inclusivity is ourselves.
Yeah.
Potentially.
On that note, maybe, funnily enough, I think an open source project that comes fairly close is IOJS, the other fork that was made some time ago, which has a values document, which I think explains some concepts why we care about inclusivity. And I think it's fairly, like, the values expressed there are pretty much the same as here. So maybe we can take a look at that and see if we can maybe kind of explain some things in our space too.
That sounds like a great place to start. Yeah,
because other than that, I don't know any project that does it this explicitly.
Yeah, and back this summer, I did some outreach to Linux Foundation stuff, and the context that they have is really quite rudimentary. They're perhaps a step or two behind us in terms of prioritizing this, and as not as a thing that they're sort of abstract discussing about, but as a thing that is articulating core values in how they operate. Right. I think that's the delta of what we're trying to really make clear.
Yeah. And I don't know if I don't mean to put him on the spot, but I believe Hoodie might have some kind of documentation around this as well, and I know Gregor is involved with that.
Yeah,
I don't
think
know
if anyone does, it's Hoodie. Yeah.
Yeah. So that might be another place we can look.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Get up
happy
to.
I don't think that we have like a template that we can apply, but we certainly have some experience.
Okay.
Like I'm happy to join the conversation about it, but I don't think that Hoodie has like a ready document that we could build upon.
Gotcha. Okay. Rachel, do you want to take that on as an initiative or as a task?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
somebody.
can also
Rachel
like
reach out to
help
me.
collaborate on it.
Yeah.
Who said Rachel reach out to me?
Gregor.
Okay. If I have to.
And I imagine Olivia would also want to be involved.
I would be interested. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So I think we've covered that one. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add to that discussion?
I just want to say Gregor like that one more time. Gregor.
I'm just happy to be here again. I missed like the last 4 meetings, so I'm just excited. So
we missed you too. Okay, so the next issue is if someone I submitted this. If someone submits a PR, should we invite them as an observer? So at this point, this was 5 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 on the border there. This was me just wondering if to help continue to grow the community committee and people engaging in it, we should automatically invite observers when they submit a PR. The thing I think I've recognized is people don't submit PRs unless they're already an observer or a member. And I'm sad that that's the case, but I don't know if codifying this is beneficial, but I don't think I'm opposed to it. Does anyone have thoughts on that?
Well, the only thoughts I have is that this kind of also plays into the discussion we've been having that we explicitly didn't want to include in this meeting, which is a discussion about member limits and stuff.
Yeah.
I really don't want to get into it here.
Yeah, I agree. So for context, there's an issue open today that has already had quite a bit of discussion. It's meta. It's issue 224. I am pasting a link to it. But yeah, we're going to try to have another meeting for that because there's a lot of context there that we need to have. So I'm going to cut that for now. But I think a good takeaway from the issue that's in the agenda is to link that in the meta issue, in the new issue from today.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be a helpful piece of context. So we should probably do that. So, I have a couple thoughts on this. At a high level, I think as a community committee, we're very much in a position where we do need to grow. And so, actively inviting new members is something that we should be thinking about the best ways to go and accomplish that. I don't know if individuals, when they submit a PR, would expect to, get invited as an observer. And so, I think we could invite folks and, to become a member. And then the observer concept is a bit, rough to digest as someone coming in from the outside. Yeah. Right. What am I observing? What am the expectations? So, I expect individuals that come in to have, some challenges there. So just, helping them, get invited and inviting them to come and take part of meetings. That's essentially, what inviting them as an observer is. So that, yes. But that terminology for someone who
doesn't know what's going on is challenging.
Yeah, and that, again, that issue does touch on the terminology and path to membership and stuff. That it's a huge thing that we have to talk about. It could take up an hour and a half easily. So try not to get in this meeting a ton.
I just have a quick thought on that too, being that this is the community committee. We all represent a lot of different communities, and we have different meetup groups and places that we go to. I think just making a mental priority of being able to ask individuals that we know would be an awesome addition to this would be a good place to start. You know, like I do PDX Node and some meetup groups and things, and you know, there's already like people that come to mind who might be interested in that sort of thing. But I think like there's nothing better than asking someone in person.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that does go, that also kind of goes into what we were discussing in that issue. Yeah, for sure. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to that?
I'm a newer member, so and I definitely haven't been as engaged as I'd like to have been. So I think some of this feels like it's maybe a little blocked on some of that other discussion that should happen. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, I don't necessarily know. This could just be me. If we need to invite everyone who participates with a PR, if we make it known in other ways how they can get involved and join meetings. So.
Yeah,
but I'm open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Tierney, about this needing to be like a bigger discussion, because I feel like also like not just making the meetings a requirement is a lot difficult for people that get further away from this time zone. So maybe I think that just is like a discussion that we need to have in order to discuss what does being a member mean and what level of engagement and participation, and
how do we quantify it? Because it's not easy without code commits. Yeah. Like it's not easy. Yeah, and full credit to Olivia for marking another meeting. That was her idea.
No, that was your idea, wasn't it?
It was? I thought it was yours.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
It was yours.
Okay, so I think we've hit those three issues pretty fully. So next issue on the agenda is the mentorship initiative. Is Ahmad on the call today? I don't know if anyone else besides him has a ton of context. Doesn't look like he is. So I think we can table that until we have Ahmad on the call again. Yeah. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to that discussion before we table it?
That sounds right.
Okay. Okay, the next issue on the agenda is internationalization localization working groups 114. We got an update from the initiative. Ben and Rachel, do you think it's acceptable to remove the CC agenda label and push the kind of updates to the initiative update section?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Okay. 1 second here. I'm just removing that. Okay. The issue has been marked as resolved, at least in terms of agenda. Okay. Current strategic initiatives review. So this is an issue. It's issue 222 on the repo, the community committee repo. I opened this yesterday. This is something I stated I wanted to try to do when we're PRing in the strategic initiatives as a base document. There are several current initiatives that aren't very active, specifically community events and Node.js evangelism. And we should probably review those just in terms of, and you know, the possibility of continuing them or closing them, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Or putting them on hold, right?
Yeah,
exactly. I think there's a state where, hey, at this time we don't have enough people that are active here, but we'd love to, help you get involved and build that back up.
Yeah, and so I nominated 2 or 3. There was another one that was kind of tangential, the office hours one. But I definitely think other people should go through the list and review it and share any kind of feedback on the different initiatives we have, either the need champion ones or the current initiatives, and share thoughts on them, because I think we should. This is probably just a hygiene thing we should do, where we review our initiatives to make sure they're healthy and moving forward, and put them on hold if they're not. Yeah, so I don't know if there's any explicit to-dos in here other than review that, but I definitely would like to hear any input or feedback from everyone on this.
Yeah. Okay. I'll review it and just go over. I think all of them is just a good idea. Not only the 2 that you outlined, just like go over everyone except for the ones that are recently active, obviously. But like, yeah.
And I mean, there are some like the Node.js collection that don't really have a ton of activity in GitHub. They have activity elsewhere. I know Zibby's in the call right now, but they have activity through the email. They're cooperation with the foundation, things like that. And so going through a review process of, okay, is this working outside of the medium we normally work on? Is that acceptable? Is probably a good thing to do for everything. Okay. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add on that?
So I have I've been since Interactive, really pushing on establishing expectations and trying to document and articulate those things. I have an expectation with something like a strategic initiative where I would expect at least 2 or 3 individuals involved in the initiative for it to be a ComCom supported thing.
Mm-hmm. I guess
that's a bit of a meta issue. I'm sorry.
I get no. What do you mean by 2 or 3 individuals involved? Do you mean members? Do you mean people who are just engaging in the initiative itself? I guess that's probably a piece of context that I'd be interested in.
Right. I don't necessarily think that it needs to be at the you've achieved. Obviously, if it's 3 ComCom full members, yeah, we're all the way there. But even if it's a ComCom champion with a couple other active members in a group, then we have a group. That's kind of the minimum baseline for achieving a group. And the evangelism. Sorry, Kearney. These are all slightly circling around you. I don't mean this to be about you, but evangelism, Node.js collection, and office hours are all things that are mostly tyranny, and I would like to make that more of a ComCom strategic initiative. More people engaged in that and actively participating.
I'd actually like to challenge that and say Node.js collection is mostly Zibby. She does a majority of it, and it really engages heavily. And I believe there are several technical editors that are engaged as well that I don't even know about. Zibby am I accurate on that?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, there's several engaged editors to it. I think Node.js collection is a little bit different too, because we have our engaged editors, but then we also have a lot of people contributing to it that are maybe members of the TSC, they might be members of the Node.js Foundation, they might just be even outside of that scope. So it's maybe a little bit different than other community initiatives because we're getting people in and out, both those that are contributing as well as editors. I'm always trying to find more editors just because I think that ends up being the last on people's to-do list, but we've been getting a steady stream of good editors helping us with some of the submissions that come in. So I see that actually being as a fairly active, an active project within ComCom, but you know, I'm always willing to hear feedback on how we can make the documentation of that activity a little bit more visible. I think we originally decided to go with Google Docs, so when people are writing, it can be a personal thing, so edits can be a little bit more privatized. But if we want to have people post their submissions on a GitHub, then I'm happy to do that too. But that's kind of was like the idea behind the process. And I think maybe sometimes where you don't see as much kind of activity or work is because a lot of that work is done in Google Docs with me and some other editors. Hopefully that addresses the questions there.
Yeah, I think that addresses kind of what I want to share, because I know I probably have a lot of context because I helped kick that off and I've been trying to be involved as much as possible. But I know Zibby really does do a lot on that. It's often thankless work, so I just want to always try to make sure to highlight that. And
I have a thought to share on that. I think there's a lot of priority. I mean, any kind of priority revolving around teams and working groups. Like I think most of the ComCom, including myself, are just not aware of what's going on in those teams and working groups. And to keep them up to speed and to keep activity within those groups, I think it might be advantageous to add a quick update during our meetings on those. So like, you know, as part of our agenda to have a quick update on evangelism or, you know, community events or whatever. And then that will help us better determine visibility on the activity and if it's going to, you know, if it needs to be revived or if we need to do something else.
Yeah, and so like on that, I guess this is another bit of tribal knowledge. Typically how that kind of update has been done in the TSC has been, and I'm using this example because this is kind of the precedent, has been if there is something to update on, you update on it. And if there's not, then that it can just be skipped and for the sake of time. And so like we did today, the updates at the beginning, that's where that would actually go if there's anything to update on. There's like for the evangelism and like full disclosure, that was something I initially helped kick off during the IOJS days and helped drive throughout that, throughout its lifespan. I am one of like 2 active people in it. And there's effectively no work gets done in it because there's not a lot of work to be done. There's not a lot of, I mean, the ComCom has largely eclipsed a lot of the original goals and needs of it. And they address it largely. So, you know, as far as like, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in active groups or, you know, partially active groups or whatever, sometimes being able to have the opportunity to have it on the agenda to share makes you think, makes the active members think about it and be able to push something out before they have to share about it. So I think, yeah, I hear you, and I think that it's just it's a double-edged thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is that maybe some of these groups could just be pinged, and possibly in the case of something like evangelism, maybe ComCom has eclipsed it, but other groups probably are active, and we just need to check in.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and you know, the other one I identified in there was Node.js, the community events, which has had 0 activity since it was created. But it was like the first initiative we did, or an individual, not 2 or 3 people, but one person took on, and then they did not continue. So yeah, that's definitely a good thing. And like we should have a definition of, okay, if we don't get any response from this group, what's our action then? I think that's a good approach, and that's something we'll need.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much for kind of expanding that. Okay, does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to that? No? Okay, so the next agenda item is Charter Expectations and Responsibilities from Node.js Enterprise Advisory Group number 5, or PR number 5, issue 5. I hate that they're both sequential with each other. Dan, do you have any update on this?
I don't have any update on this. We're still tracking towards having our next meeting. The action there is to actively invite first, and inform everybody of the intent, and put that into a public forum.
Okay.
But I haven't had cycles to push that forward.
Okay. Do you mind if I remove the CC agenda label?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay. So we're good on that then. And then the last, oh no, second last. No, that is the last one. Issuing badges for contributors. So this was an issue brought up by Ahmad again, just discussing open badges for issues and stuff, or for users that contribute to the project. This is also something that's been discussed in the past around like the hex stickers. For each individual working group and team and things like that. So this is definitely something. This is a lighter side of things. That's a nice kind of community building tool. And I think it'd be a good thing for the project to do at something like Node Interactive or the Collaborator Summit. Have representatives from each of the working groups and teams and committees sharing their stickers.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That means we. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think I interrupted someone.
That was me.
Oh, I just mean that means we'll need like someone to design all of these badges, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. And I propose that we do something like what Node School has done with their very well-designed template. But I don't know what that would look like for us, or if it would need to change much at all.
Yeah, just chime in. Sorry about the bad connection. I'm on a bus up to Tahoe right now, a bunch of people, but I'd love to be one of the people helping to contribute to this. I think it's a really fun idea.
Okay.
I'd love to see it happen. Yeah.
Awesome. And I know Rachel raised her hand, and Benjamin also raised their hand. Okay, cool. So someone raised their hand in the actual meeting. I'm not used to that. Okay. Maurice, did you want to say something?
I just thought it was a good idea also.
Oh, okay.
Definitely
awesome.
Like to help.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so Jim, could you mark that down? I can repeat the names if you want. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, there you go. Get out. Rachel, Ben, Adam. Yep, perfect. Awesome. So with that, I think we've hit the end of our agenda. Trying to think. Does anyone have anything they'd like to raise in a private session? I do. I have a kind of smallish thing, but it was similar to one of the issues that was raised earlier today. So I think we're ready to end the live stream. So thanks everyone for coming today. And we will see you all 2 weeks. Members, please stay on the call. We got some stuff to talk about. Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.